millions of people literally all over the world remember September 11th, 2001. Primarily because it's like a common dream that we have all around the world, particularly for us in the United States, when the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers came down in New York City. And because of what we are involved with dreaming and listening to people and their experiences, then we know that a lot of people had dreams about this before they even happened. Mm-hmm. And you had some very significant dream experiences surrounding that time period. And I'd like for you to share those with us.
Sure. The timing of that day was very interesting. My husband, John, had died almost exactly a year before that. He died on September 10th in the year 2000. And I wanted to spend a day to commemorate the year anniversary of his death, being with myself, doing some meditating, some praying. And September 10th, 2001 was not a good day for me to do it because I had classes I was teaching, so I thought I would do it the next day, September 11th. Mm-hmm. So I woke up in the morning, meditated, got in my car. I was driving to a local church so that I could do some praying there. And I got in my car, I turned on the radio, and I heard the announcer kind of yell, "The second tower has been hit." And so as I'm driving into the local town, I heard the unfolding story of what happened that morning in New York. And like everybody else, it was a very shocking experience. In particular for me, I was worried because I grew up in a suburb of New York City, and so I had friends and some friends of family who lived there. John's oldest sister, lives in Manhattan, and his nephew, who was maybe 10 at the time, maybe 9, he lived there also, and I couldn't get a hold of anyone. All the phone lines were down, and there was no way to get through physically. So all day long I was had on my mind how I could help and what the people needed and were my relatives okay. And that night I had a dream that John was in New York and he was helping the people who had died in the World Trade Center. And I looked at him and I said or thought in a voice of alarm, "Are they okay?" Meaning the people who had died. And he lit up with this amazing smile. I mean, just a beautiful smile. And it was like he was filled with this celestial light. And he said, "Yes, they're fine. Once they're out, they're fine." And when he said once they're out, I could feel this kind of whoosh of exhilaration, like how it feels when the spirit leaves the body. And I knew what he meant was that the people who had died in the World Trade Center were fine. Once they were out of the body, they were completely fine. And I could even feel what that feeling of freedom was mm-hmm. like. And the people who weren't fine were those of us who were still here, incarnate in physical bodies, who were worried, who were scared, who were angry. And so that dream was very healing. It was personally healing because John looked great. He looked healthy, he looked beautiful. And when he was alive, he was a very helping kind of person. I mean, he probably would have picked up from Missouri and driven to New York to help the people who had died there and the survivors. So that was very personally healing. And the message itself was very universally healing about death and life after death, and that once people actually go through that transition process and they're freed from the confines of the physical body, they're actually fine.
You know, in hearing the story again, because I'm very familiar with it, and I know that, my response to it was to write a Taraka Yoga about resolution and reconciliation mm-hmm. to help people move through their experience, the ones of us left behind that were having such a hard time. And, I can hear the naysayers in my mind saying, well, that was just, she made it up in her dream because it was comforting and that kind of thing. And, the reality is that people believe and you live what you believe. Your thoughts create who you are. And so your life is created that way. And the impetus for dreams to cause our consciousness to ascend, to rise, is what I'm hearing you speak to. And it's not so much, I don't think, a concept of the reality of the dream, of whether it was real or not. It's more a matter of us remembering where we came from. Because we look forward and we don't really know, we say we don't know what's going to happen after death. Well, why don't we? Well, because it hasn't happened yet. That's why. It's imagination land. When we look at memory and where we've come from, and if we have a sense of continuity of consciousness, which the dream world gives us, then everything changes in terms of how we look at things. And we pay closer attention to dreams. I know that you're friends with Jean Campbell, and I know that so much came from 9/11 in her life. And I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit, but I think it's something that you have personal knowledge of that might help a lot of people who might still have echoes of 9/11 and residue that they need to resolve.
At the time of 9/11, 2001, Jean was moderating a Yahoo group that was through the International Association for the Study of Dreams. And what she found is that there were many people all over the world who had had dreams that had some kind of either precognition or some trace of what happened that day. And she found out about this after the fact, that people wrote in about these dreams. And what she realized is that if there was some type of place or a forum for people to get together and share their dreams, that when there were world events, that people could help in some way, either by being able to change the future or helping each other to be aware of how to respond to what's happening. So she formed a group that's called the World Dreams Peace Bridge, and that's what this group is for people to share dreams. Sometimes they share dreams about things that is not known yet in the media that later comes to pass. Sometimes people intentionally dream like a visualization to help things that are happening, to dream for peace. And it's one of the ways that she's a very strong force in helping people who do believe that thoughts are real, that dreams are real, that we can have a very profound influence on a subconscious level to help one another, and that's where we're all connected, so there's a way that we can aid one another through our dreams.